Is alcohol really dangerous? I mean, come on. We see people drinking everywhere. It's sold practically everywhere you go. Could this really be dangerous? And what are the hidden dangers of alcohol that no one talks about? Could this be because the big alcohol companies are suppressing this information? Well, today, after a long absence of our Talk Sober channel, we are back and we're going to talk about the dangers of alcohol that other people don't talk about. This is stuff that you need to pay attention to, because if you find yourself drinking and maybe you have a little bit too much, or every time you drink you say, I'm not going to get drunk, but you end up drunk anyway. Or maybe you're having trouble stopping, or maybe you can't stop at one or two. Maybe you're the kind of person who clears out the bar and ends up drinking even more when you get home. Well, today we're going to talk about the hidden dangers, and it's not what most people would think. Obviously, we know the major dangers, like detox dangers. We know the dangers of being drunk. We know that many, many crimes are committed while drunk or intoxicated. We know that you're not supposed to drive while intoxicated. We know all this stuff, yet time and time again, we watch the TV and those people are having so much fun with those bottles of liquor. You would think that the bottle of liquor was their best friend, not the guy sitting across from them at the table. It's the booze, right? Feels like we need booze to live. So today what we're going to do is we're going to crunch this down and we're going to talk about the reality that Terry and I faced almost 8 years ago. Are we going on 8 years or 7 years?
We will be approaching 8 years.
Approaching 8 years of sobriety each. We both met in rehab after very similar issues, getting sober and being drunk. And we want to talk to you about the dangers that no one told us about. This is a danger that could have solved me and Terry a lot of heartache, and thousands, probably millions of alcoholics, or even just people who dabble in drinking, a lot of heartache. Because it's very important. I was actually watching a talk, which I'm kind of loosely basing this video idea on, by Jordan Peterson. And Jordan Peterson was talking about some tests they did with alcohol, and they were talking about alcoholics. And if you've ever been in alcoholic meetings or talked to other alcoholics, they talk about their first drink and their first time getting intoxicated as if it was this magical experience. It's like all the drugs you could take for all the ailments you have are combined in one bottle. And it's like magic. Other people, they drink it and they're like, this tastes like crap. I better drink another just so everyone thinks I can handle it, right? But for the alcoholic, it does something magical and it makes us feel different. And he was saying that, if you take your pulse before you drink and after you drink, if the pulse goes up, chances are it's probably like, the alcoholic syndrome, where it's like, wow, I like this. I need this stuff. And that's what it was like for me. But no one explained this. Back when I was getting sober, it was, you're pretty much a degenerate and you can't handle your liquor and you're a weakling and you need to go to rehab and hang your head in shame so that you could live a life of shame where you don't drink anymore. And that's what I thought I was signing up for. But they didn't tell me about the hidden dangers that could have solved this problem before it even started. So we're going to talk about that today. Terry, how you doing?
I'm doing well. And
All
many
right.
of those hidden dangers, well, pretty much all of them, they're gone now. Feeling a lot better in life.
Absolutely. You can't get drunk if you don't drink, and you can't drive a car drunk if you never drink, and lots of things. Life is absolutely better for me not drinking, and that, it's something that's really good. And, some people are talking about liver issues. I had liver issues, had all kind of stuff. And what we want to do is we want to talk about these dangers, because what people tend to not talk about is that there's a fine line between a drinker and an alcoholic. For years, I was a drinker, heavy drinker, moderate drinker,
Me too.
light drinker, and I was fine. I mean, people didn't know I was drunk. I didn't admit how many I had, because while everyone else was on number 3, I was on number 23. And, it seemed to not be a problem to me. It really helped. I had to do a speech, go pound a few, and, your speech is going to be pretty good. You got to go to a meeting that you're uncomfortable at, have a few drinks. You got to go on an airplane. I mean, who doesn't drink on an airplane? Except, of course, in these times we live in, you can't drink on an airplane currently, because apparently people think an airplane is like a jungle and they just, act like maniacs. Although I've never seen them. I just, it's on the news, so it's got to be true, right? But we got to look at this and we got to understand that, there are dangers even when you don't see them. Even though I didn't see that there were dangers when I had a little bit more or I was a comfortable drinker, the danger started that first drink I had when I think I was about 13 or 12, and I liked it. I liked being drunk. I liked the feeling of alcohol hitting my body. It was like that feeling when you're in a really hot house, like on Thanksgiving. A lot of you guys will experience this on Thanksgiving. When you're in a really warm house, there's lots of people, the oven's going, it's hot, and you're like, okay, I took my sweater off and I'm still hot and nothing's working. And the minute you go outside into that cold air, you get that breath and it's like magical, right? That crisp air hits you and you just feel so great. That's what the first drink of alcohol was like for me. It was like, wow, it took my breath away and it felt good and the anxiety was gone and that little voice that's telling me not to do everything is gone. And all of a sudden, I'm in that crisp air. Or kind of like when you're water skiing, right? And you're water skiing and you're on the hard water and then you go to the soft water and all of a sudden all the balance is gone, but you're secure, right? Because the boat's towing you. Hopefully the boat's towing you. If not, you got other problems. And you get that feeling, that little rush of emotion, that little rush of adrenaline. And that's what it was like for me when I first drank. I was like, wow, this is something that I definitely want in my life. And had someone told me back then, hey, it's kind of a warning sign, buddy. 12-year-olds aren't supposed to love being drunk. I mean, that's kind of a problem. So we got to watch out for that. But what was it like for you, Terry? Was there like a warning sign you could have seen before?
Well, I had some of those same feelings when I started drinking. Maybe not when I was 11 years old and had my first drink, but going into high school and college, constantly looking for those keggers and the parties and stuff like that, and having that drink and getting that feeling of escape. And that this is, I don't know that I actually thought that this was the solution to everything, but I certainly had that feeling, absolutely. And that could have definitely been a warning sign right there. Of course, the legal troubles and other things that would happen, those were also warning signs, obviously.
Mm.
But, you know, the parties where everybody has like a couple of drinks or whatever, and I keep going. The party ends, and I keep going. I want more. That's another warning sign. Further on, when my alcoholism really kicked in those recent years before I got sober, the warning signs were quite a bit more obvious. But maybe not so much. Maybe I didn't really blame them on alcohol. But I had things like, they talk about some of the warning signs, the physical warning signs, and I had it causes heart issues. Alcohol can cause heart issues. I had high blood pressure. I had to take medicine. I don't have to take medicine anymore. I do not have high blood pressure. My liver or my blood sugar levels were high. That I was pre-diabetic. I don't have that problem anymore. Just little basic things like going out in the backyard and pulling weeds. I'd stand up, I'd be dizzy. Like almost every time, I'd be dizzy. And there's all these little signs that say that alcohol's causing this. But did I think that was the case? No, no. I just didn't really think about it. I thought, okay, I'm getting older. All right, this is what happens when you get older. That's not true. It's the alcohol. Alcohol affects every single cell in your body. And, people that don't have an alcohol problem and maybe they have one drink every couple of days or even one drink a day or two drinks a day, they're probably okay. But for me, I'm not able to do that. I have too much and it affects me negatively in many, many ways. And I was just talking about the physical aspect. Then there's the mental aspect of it and that feeling of euphoria that I was constantly chasing. And as I needed more alcohol, I kept on looking for that feeling. That feeling of euphoria would last for a shorter and shorter time. And, I still liked drinking to the very last day I drank, but But I'd have that drink and I'd feel that, when I had that drink for just a short time. And then I'd have to drink more to try and get it again. And that's where that mental obsession took over. I needed more and I needed more. And that's what drove me into the alcoholic insanity that I was in. Alcohol became just the focus of my life. And, I could have seen some of those warning signs early in life, maybe. I don't know. I don't know if I would have, or if somebody pointed them out to me, maybe I would have thought about it, but I don't know. I probably would have just blown it off and kept going because I was having a good time, you know? So, yeah, I saw many signs, and I think we all do. Deep down, I knew that I had to quit long before I quit. And, that alcoholic part of my mind was just saying, no, you're good. You're good. Keep going.
Absolutely. And I think one of the things that, we don't look at, which I like about this topic, is that, you know, we're talking about the dangers of alcohol. Not so much the dangers of having too much alcohol or the dangers of, weird people who get alcohol or the dangers of whatever. We're talking about the dangers of alcohol, which says that there is inherently, I think I said that right, something wrong with the alcohol substance. Now, plenty of people enjoy it, fine, great, wonderful. They can continue to do so. For me, what I want to look at is I want to look at the fact that when we say the dangers of alcohol, we are separating us from the alcohol. And this is something that I hate that the alcohol community does not do. The alcoholic community, AAs, rehabs, all kinds of places, everything I looked at, I mean, even still, stuff I've looked at, does not talk about how alcohol is the problem. They put it on us. Oh, well, the problem is you drink too much. Okay, yeah, that's true. But what about this little thing called chemical dependency? And everyone I talk to would talk about chemical dependency as if it's a fart in the wind. Oh, hey, oh, yeah, you chemical dependency, whatever. No, 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 it's not whatever. Chemical dependency is the iron wheel that's driving this entire thing. The other night, I got home from my trip. For those that were wondering where I was, I went. My dad has been really sick lately, and we wanted to get him out to Alabama to see his family. And, he did pretty good. A couple rough days here and there. But my dad likes to travel in RVs. I do not like to travel in RVs. I'm like, I don't like taking my toilet across state lines. That's not my cup of tea. And so my stomach was in knots. It was emotionally in knots, and knots because my diet regimen was off, and knots because, just so much going on, and then everything. And I came home and I had a stomach bug that I haven't had since I was a kid. When I was a kid, I remember I had this one stomach bug, and it was horrid. And so the other night I'm sitting there and I'm like, my stomach hurts, whatever. And I'm just a mess. And I noticed that in that state where I'm a mess, in that state where I have a stomach ache, I'm not thinking of philosophical matters. I'm not thinking of, what work I need to do. What I'm thinking about is how am I going to make it off of this bathroom floor, the 12 inches to do what I got to do to get rid of this stomach ache. How am I going to deal with this? That's all I'm thinking about. And I want to bring this analogy, even though it's kind of a raw analogy, because I want you guys to keep this in your mind. Because when I had that stomach issue, my mind could only think about the stomach issue, survival, and maybe, hey, can you hand me a towel? Can you hand me a Sprite? That's all I could think about. I wasn't sitting there, contemplating Plato's philosophy. I wasn't thinking about books I read. I wasn't thinking about anything. And I want you to look at that because that is the essence of chemical dependency. My mind was hijacked by the chemicals produced in that stomach ache to think about survival only. Now, alcoholism does the same thing. It takes your brain out of whatever you think you have. This is why they say alcoholics are degenerates, okay? They're not degenerates. What they are is hijacked, right? It's like if I was to take, let's say Terry is a military guy, right? And he's off in the military and I'm on the opposite side, okay? And I take him hostage and I control what he eats. I don't let him see daylight. I play crazy music all day, every day. And if Terry walks out of there skinny, not wanting to eat, scared of everything, would I fault Terry? Would I say, Terry, you're a weakling? Bro, you signed up for the Marines and this? No. I'd pin a badge on him and I'd say, Terry is a war hero and this is what we get. This is what happens when people are in captivity, when people are hostages. That's what happens. All right? That's what happens when you have a stomach bug. That's what happens when you drink alcohol. Now, for Terry, if he got back and he's like, hey, you know what? I kind of miss the people who tortured and captured me. I miss them a little bit. Could he go back and dabble, or would it, boom, fire up all the neurons in his brain that say, I need to get out of here? Right? As if by magic. Even if he went to therapy, even if he went to years and years of counseling, I guarantee if he brisked past that guy who was his captor in the airport one day, all those thoughts and emotions and feelings would come back. And he wouldn't even know why, because his brain didn't even see the guy coming. It was just a flash, and his brain went, boop, boop, put those emotions to that. And when we understand that, that's what happens when we smell alcohol. You wonder why alcoholics, they smell a bar. One day, when I got sober, this guy dropped a case of beer in front of my grocery store. I'm like, okay, when I was drinking, that never happened. People never drop beer. But this time, now that I'm sober, everyone's throwing beer up like it's going out of style. And that smell took me back to everything. And we need to understand the chemical dependence, because that's why I don't drink today. On that RV time, were there difficult times? Were there times I was like, hey, a beer would be good right now? Hey, my dad drank, he has whiskey for his throat cancer. It helps the pain. And it just so happened to be like the favorite kind that I liked. Did I think, oh, that would be, kind of nice? I smell it. It looks good. I did. But what stopped me from it? Because it would have been easy. It would have been easy. I could have gone and got my own bottle. People probably wouldn't even have noticed until I got too drunk. Then everyone would have known. But what stopped me from that? It was right there. What stopped me from that is knowing what it's going to do to my mind. Knowing, hey, I'm like the guy who was captured, and I'm not going to go dabble with this stuff because it's going to fire off all the neurons. And I don't know where I'm going to be. I don't know what's going to happen. Because once chemical dependency takes over, because I'm dust. Chemical dependency has taken over once in my life. Now it's like a virus that is always in your body. Metaphorically speaking, I'm not a doctor. Terry's not a doctor. I couldn't differentiate a virus from the hole in the wall. It's just metaphor. But when we look at that, we understand that is why I don't drink. Because it's still there. And it's still waiting. And I know that feeling doesn't go away. Oh, I'm just going to have one. Yeah, you remember what that first one did to you? When you, woo, hey, I feel this. This feels like the best day of my life. Like that crisp morning out of the hot house into the air of Thanksgiving, if you guys remember it. If you're just tuning in, I sound like a raving lunatic. But that's all good, right? But that's how it is, right? What are your thoughts on that, Terry?
Well, I think a raving lunatic can keep on going forever. No, you know what you're alluding to, and there's a lot of comments here that are kind of talking about the same thing, the mental aspect, and that's really a lot of what the hidden danger of alcohol is we get in this mindset that just takes us down the hole, and when we get sober, we have to change that. We have to change that mindset. And basically for me, it's I have a life that I don't need to run away from anymore. And that's huge. So that when I do have that choice of the alcohol or not the alcohol, and nobody's going to find out if I drank it, I can still choose to not drink. And it's a no-brainer for me right now. I don't know that it'll be that way in the future. I have to constantly be aware of that and be aware of the dangers of alcohol, because I see it again and again. David had mentioned that he recently lost a friend who drank himself to death, and it was a really sad thing to see. And the end, he always refused help and treatment. And you know, I was just talking to a good friend of mine that's actually got 38 years of sobriety, and this guy was like a hardcore biker, angry dude. His stories are incredible. This was a guy that was a fighter and all this. He's 38 years sober, and he was helping. He had a sponsee that was 25 years sober. Okay, and this guy with 25 years of sobriety, for some reason, he decided to pick up a bottle, and then he went on to a meth pipe. And 3 weeks, he was dead. I wish I could. I wish I had answers for you, David. But some people, they refuse help. They don't want it, or they can't get it mentally. I don't know if there was an easy answer to this. Um, I think there would be a rich person who had that answer, but it's a difficult thing. For me, what I had to do is I had to completely surrender to this disease as far as I had to change my mindset. They told me in rehab, the only thing you have to change to stay sober is everything. And I thought that meant like everything. Like I love riding my bicycle. I can't ride that anymore. I love to walk my dog. I can't. No, it didn't mean that at all. It meant I have to change my mindset into a sober mindset. And, you know, like our program really tries to steer people towards that sober mindset and get you set in that way and start thinking about sobriety. It's not a difficult thing. Some people, it's very difficult in the beginning. We have difficult times. But in general, for me at least, it's not a difficult thing. It's just something I need to just kind of consistently be aware of. I need to work on my sobriety on a consistent basis, and I'm able to live a nice, content, happy life that way. And it's all because I have changed my mindset. And when I do feel myself going back, Marcus is talking about the knowledge that we need to have, just the knowledge of what's going to happen if we take that first drink. I have that. I know what's going to happen if I take that drink. I know what happened to me when I've quit before and took that first drink, and I see it when working with other alcoholics. I see what happens. Every week I see this happen with somebody, and they start drinking, and it's never a pretty picture. I've yet to see somebody that claim that they're an alcoholic go out and start drinking and say, "Hey, it was all great. It was fine. Life got better, or life was okay." No, every one of them has a pretty sad story if they come back to sobriety, if they make it. And anyways, for me, it really is about that mindset. That's the biggest hidden danger. My dog's protecting our house right now, if you can hear him in the background. But yeah.
Yeah, and I think one of the big things, like I think there are some answers for people like your friend, um, and I think the answer is the separation and the power of how much you believe that this is a chemical issue, because there have been times in my life where, as a sober person, I thought about drinking, and some of them got real strong in the beginning. They were bigger than usual, but every time that I had it, I always looked at what was going to happen, because I have the feeling I could get right away. And we have to get honest about that feeling, because there's a funny thing. There's actually this guy I listened to. He's kind of a crackpot, and I think he was some kind of drug guy. But he created this psychology thing called NLP, and what they talk about is things that get wired, and how what we say and what we see affects what we do, right? Different things can change different behaviors. And one of the things he talked about was how something, if it's like an ingrown belief, like a strong belief, how that can change your behavior. How if we were able to take something like alcohol and look at it and say, okay, I'm going to look at what this is going to do, because right now okay, I have something going on in my life. It makes me want to drink. Why do I want to drink? Well, I want to drink because right now I have these feelings that I can't get out of, and I want that feeling of being drunk so that I could forget, or maybe it's pain, or whatever it is. Okay. And then we look at it like he says. His name was Richard Bandler, still is Richard Bandler. I think he's still around. And he said, the funny thing about alcohol and drugs is your body produces the response to it. It's like an allergy, right? An allergy is a weird thing. I had allergies really bad when I lived in Northern California, and they drive me nuts because I'm like, here is my body producing sick symptoms to something that's not even bothering me. It's like a made up thing. Like my body's like, okay, I'm allergic to this flower, which the flower's not going to hurt me. I could go bury myself in flowers, but my body thinks it's going to hurt me. So therefore it produces coughing and anxiety and, whatever other stuff it has, sneezing and runny nose and watery eyes. Okay. Now, funny thing about that, if I didn't have the flower, could my body still produce crying eyes and coughs and stuff like that? Of course it could. I could fake it right now if I wanted to. And I could fake feelings right now if I wanted to. Actors have studied this for years where they're like, okay, I could recall sadness, and some of them go into deep depression because they recall sadness so much for their acting that it's like, oh wow, now I actually believe this, and it's their body producing these responses. And the funny thing about it is we attribute all of this to alcohol. Like alcohol gets a paycheck for doing nothing. We sit there and we're like, alcohol solved all my problems. Alcohol made me feel better. Alcohol does this. Alcohol will make me feel better right now. Well, if it makes you feel better, why do you keep drinking it? Wouldn't one glass of alcohol be like, hey, all my life's problems are solved? The way we talk about it, you would think it was like that. But that's not the case because the fact is your body is producing those feelings based on the alcohol in your body. Now, your body can produce those feelings anyway. You want to get away from your thoughts and emotions? There are ways to do it without alcohol. But alcohol is easy and it's, cheap, and you haven't found a better way. And the way to beat alcoholism is to find a better way. And I believe up until now, for all the problems I've dealt with up till now, knock on my poorly crafted wood desk, I made it myself, I believe there is a better way. I believe I've found a better way for me, and you can find one for you. And the better way is to realize, first of all, alcohol is a bullshit liar.
Yep.
That's what it is. It lied to me. It said, hey, I'm going to make you like, hey, I'm going to make you better at business. I used to go with a 36 case of beer or a 12 case if I got the torpedoes that were like 9%. Those things will knock you on your butt. Don't mess with them. And I'd take them into my office and I'd say, I need these so that I could get a video done. Guess what? In sobriety, I've done 10 times the videos that I did while I was drunk. 10 times. And better quality. And better growth. And better at my work and enjoying life. Yet I said I need alcohol to do this because I talk too fast and, I need to slow down. Well, sometimes I talk fast, sometimes I talk slow. Who gives a rip? That's what that little button on YouTube is that says slow down, speed up. Right? Pretty simple. But I gave alcohol all of the credit for all the good stuff and all the good I need this to relax. I need this. Do you not know how to, like before you were of age to drink, did you not know how to relax? I mean, we all did. But we forget and we say alcohol's the solution. And I would submit to you that there's a lot of dangers of alcohol with very little plus side. Very little. Like, okay, what's the plus side? The other day I saw wine and I was like, I miss having the taste of wine. Big deal. There's a million other drinks out there I can have.
Yeah.
The other day, I was in the RV with my dad. He had a really rough night. Some nights he would eat with the family. Some nights it was really rough, and I'd go into the RV with him, and it was difficult. And after that time, I was in there for about an hour and a half, and I was emotionally gone. And I could have looked at that bottle of whiskey and said, hey, you want to escape these emotions? Go for it. Instead, I went down to my grandpa's old shack, just had a little cry for an hour. And I'm like, hey, no one knows I'm out here. I could just be here. And now it's okay to feel what I need to feel. When I drank, it wasn't. I got to hide them. I got to drink them away. Got to stuff them down. But now I'm like, hey, you know what? Sometimes people cry. Sometimes people are sad. Sometimes people are happy. And that's okay. That's what life's about. We don't need to escape it. And I think that's the hidden gift that sobriety gave me is the ability to just be me and be okay with it. And hey, you know what? Some people are going to like it, some people aren't. I'm doing this for me. I live my life for me. It's what I do, you know? And being okay with that stuff is a big thing. And not having to have a coping mechanism like alcohol, not having to deal with all this stuff, and not giving alcohol all the credit for the good, right? Because it really didn't. What did alcohol give me? A day in a mental institute, a 5150, rehab, a loss of probably over $1 million. And what do I got to show for it? Well, now I'm sober. I like that part. I wouldn't change it for the world. But some of you guys don't have to go through all that. Some of you guys can look at it now and say, hey, I see that, and it's chemical dependency. I'm dependent on a chemical. I think that chemical is giving me all this stuff, and it's not. And when I want it, I have to say, okay, well, I want a drink. No, you want the chemical. You don't want the drink. You don't even like the taste of it. Like whiskey doesn't taste that great unless you're an alcoholic or unless you're a drinker. Like the first one tastes like crap. Like the first cigarette, no one's like, ooh, yummy. Although now they have like grape vapes and stuff, but no one does, right? It's acquired taste. And it's acquired by the feeling it gives you. That's why your body craves stuff. You're like, man, I feel like a banana lately. No, your body wants potassium. Ding, ding, ding. I feel like an orange. I really would like some orange today. Now your body wants vitamin C. And same thing going on everywhere. That's what it is, chemical dependency.
Yeah. It's a subtle foe, that alcohol. And yeah, it lies to us completely. And if you did grab that bottle of whiskey, it wouldn't have solved your problem. And that's what you're aware of, is that it wouldn't have solved your problem. It would have just pushed it off. The anxiety would start to build. Then you'd need more. And then your anxiety would build more. And, eventually you'd be back into full blown. And that's the one of the biggest hidden dangers. But you talked about the hidden gifts of not drinking, of sobriety, and one of those hidden gifts that people don't really talk about too much is what you were just talking about. You had some pretty sad emotions going on, and you were able to feel them. But it's important for us to feel all those feelings, and I've found that too in the loss I've had in sobriety, that it's important to go through the grieving process if you need to. It's important to feel that frustration of not being able to control something and just being angry about it and being able to work through it without reacting in a negative way, which if I was drinking and I got angry, I would react completely the wrong way. And these are some of the most incredible things in sobriety. Of course, there's the obvious things being sober. I'm pretty happy. I mean, but today it's a sunny day. It's going to be 65 degrees here, and I'm going to go walk the dog out in the wetlands. It's going to be beautiful, and I get to enjoy those obvious things of sobriety. If I was drinking, I wouldn't matter if it's raining, sunny, whatever. I'd be inside watching bad TV. I always tell you guys Dr. Phil, but whatever, bad TV I'd be watching, and bottle next to me. But it's incredible being able to feel all the feelings, and some of them aren't so great. But I'm able to work through them, and like you didn't drink, and you were able to work through your sadness pretty quickly. Of course, it's still there, it's still going to be there, but at least you're able to deal with it in a healthy way so that you can continue to move forward and have it not affect your entire life. Where, I mean, I know for you and for me too, that anytime something bad happened when I was drinking, it's just that, there you go, that's it. That's the only thing in life right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to affect every aspect of my life right now because I'm going to try and drink it away.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny too because in sobriety, I I grieve losses and I feel sad, but not because of the loss, because of what I gained, if that makes sense. Like I remember when my grandpa passed when I was drinking, I felt like people took him from me. I was like, okay, he was taken from me. And now I
Yeah.
look at it and I'm like, is my dad being taken from me? No, he was given to me. I had him in my life for, what am I going to be, 42? Something like that. 42 years. And that was a gift, and no one can ever take that back. And I can, whenever I want, I can always close my eyes and I can be with that person because the energy that they spent with me is still here. Like the thermodynamic smart people stuff, energy doesn't go anywhere, right? It doesn't disappear. It doesn't. It just transforms or whatever. And when we look at that and we understand, hey, this was given to us. This was a gift. This was a gift.
Yeah.
Everything starts to change. And those are some of the things that we talk about in our sobriety program. For those that want to support and check out what we're doing and actually go through, we have almost 30 letters. I think we have 27. We have 3 left to go, where we have letters that I've written in sobriety about my experience. Some of them were written when I was 2 years sober. Some of them were written last week. And all of them talk about different things that I've gone through in sobriety, the loss of loved ones, dealing with cravings, dealing with the mindset. You can kind of see and walk through me as my mind started to change, because one of the things that I think could be a blessing or a curse in sobriety is the fact that in sobriety you're given a clean slate of mind, and you could choose the way your mind is going to operate. Right? You could choose what you're going to think about. You can choose your new mindset. Now, some people don't do that, and they just say, oh, whatever, I'm just sober now, this sucks. And eventually, most people end up going back to the bottle. But I think if you choose the right mindset and you start to understand, hey, this could be the best gift if I'm willing to stick it through. If I'm willing to, on my worst day, when I feel like drinking worse than anything, if I can press through and say, I'm not going to do it, give myself that 15-minute break. Hey, if 15 minutes, I still feel like it, I'll give myself another 15. Because you know what? I've drank more than the average American adult. I don't need to know what it tastes like. I don't need to have another one. I don't need to test the theory again. I know what it gets me. It gets me drunk. That's what alcohol does to me. And so when I understand that, I'm like, okay, now I can do this on a different way. And in our program over at talksober.com, sorry, Terry, I got to cover you up to show this. Over at talksober.com, you can click on the big yellow button like this. It'll take you to a sign up page. And for the low price of $27 a month, less than the price of a cheap domestic beer at home a day, you can get all the tools and stuff that have helped us get and stay sober. You just sign up here, put your name, last name, email, put your info. You can see it's secure. If you ever want to cancel, you can cancel out whenever you want. It's not like a commitment or anything. You can cancel out the day after you sign up if you want, right? So you just fill that out. You'll get instant access to 30 letters that I wrote in sobriety, 30 videos that Terry created based on those letters, worksheets, a talk on many of the letters, and all kinds of things to help you reframe your mind and understand what's going on as an alcoholic. Now, Terry and I are not doctors, but I think, so we can't give medical advice. If you're detoxing, go to the doctor. By all means, go to the doctor. But for those of you that want to deal with the mental aspect, the thinking part, the mindset, this can really help you, I think, over at talksober.com. And you help support us doing these videos. You could also go through and get a private sobriety call with me and Terry. I think we have one tomorrow. These are getting a little bit more popular, which is kind of cool. Y'all want to talk to us, which, hey, I'm flattered. You can get a one-on-one call. This is $97, and you get 1 hour with me and Terry. You could talk about whatever you want, ask questions, whatever, and it'll be, private, just you, me, Terry, and the wall. All right. You could also check out other resources on here, like our Facebook group, product support, download some of the letters, should I go to rehab, all kinds of cool stuff. That's over at talksober.com. And by clicking the yellow button and signing up, you are helping us reach more people. Trek says, when is the book coming out? When I say we have 30 letters and they're done, that's when the book will be out, because that is the book. So, and I got to get a proofreader and everything like that. All right. Cool. Any comments coming?
Oh, there's lots of great comments, and let me take a look at some of them. I'll just go back to Karen says I white knuckled my first 10 years, but quitting meat and animal products made it a much happier time. For me, when I first got sober, I did not think about food. I just thought about not drinking, and that was very important for me. As my main concentration was not drinking, and I was actually told that by lots of people. I mean,
Hmm.
doctor didn't say that. Doctor told me, change everything, stop smoking, stop drinking, eat better, all that. But other fellow sober alcoholics, they told me, really need to concentrate on your drinking. And actually, I drank a lot of fruit juice, which isn't necessarily that great for you. But that was because in the very, very beginning, because I really had to counteract the fact that I just took away a couple thousand calories worth of sugar from the alcohol out of my diet. But in sobriety, I do eat better, and I have concentrated on that over the years, and my health has definitely improved because of that. And I have a lot more energy and all that stuff that the nutritionists tell you is going to happen. It's happened because I eat better, and diet is important to me. I try to stay away from those processed foods. And I'm a chef, so I do eat animal products and all that. But I try to keep it healthy, you know, and that's good for me. But staying sober, that's still the top priority. That's what I have to keep in mind at all times is sobriety has to be my top priority. If I don't have that, nothing else matters.
Yeah.
I'm
And
not
that was the urgent need for me too was, hey, let's get sober and then we can worry about lifting weights and being healthy later because let's face it, for the last, I don't know, 5 or 6 years before I got sober, I wasn't lifting weights, I wasn't eating healthy, I was living on alcohol. So, let's deal with one thing at a time, and I think that was good advice. Always go to the doctor, make sure, I think it's a good idea before and after you get sober to see a doctor because you don't know what kind of havoc can be made on your body, and it's a difficult thing.
yeah.
And it's always good to get an opinion and see what's going on, get all your tests and stuff. But yeah, I would say absolutely focus needs to be on not drinking.
Yeah, when I first got well, this last time when I got sober, I was in the hospital, so I had all my numbers. And then 3 months out, I went and got a physical again. And then the suggestions were made by the doctor. And see, you got to work with the doctor because he was able to steer me in the right direction as far as okay, this is high, this is high, this is getting better. You're doing the right thing in this, and you might want to improve on this. So that was a good. It's kind of gave me a base on where I could start from. So
Mm-hmm.
that was good. That helped a lot. Um, I wanted to get this one. Tell your story. You've been making some great comments here. Getting sober allows a person to finally emotionally mature, and that's what we've been talking about. Learning not to just cope with your emotions, but to step back and understand them. And that's true. I started drinking heavily, kind of high schoolish, and kind of stayed that way for decades. And there was parts of me that I don't feel matured, especially emotionally. I didn't know how to deal with things. It's kind of a learning experience when I first got sober, learning how to deal with some of those that we call negative emotions, sadness and frustration and things like that. I didn't know how to deal with a lot of those, at least in a healthy way. I knew how to deal with them, just not in a healthy way. So yeah, sobriety and as Phil says, I'm kind of going backwards here. As Phil says, he's got 11 years, and congratulations on that. But you don't miss it. And you say it takes time and it takes work, but it works, and it does. It doesn't happen right away. That's what it was kind of frustrating to me when I first got sober that life didn't change immediately. But it did slowly. Actually, a lot of things I didn't realize they did change immediately. Just my outlook on life was a pretty quick change, and it became from alcohol being my master to concentrating on sobriety 100%. And that was one big thing that changed, and that started to build the blocks for change in my life completely. So
Cool.
yeah, it works.
Awesome. All right. So I think that's about the time we have for today. Trek, yes, we will get that in the queue. We can do a show on prayer and meditation. I think that'll be an interesting one. But yeah.
Yes, it will.
All right. And if you guys ever do have ideas for a show you want, just put them in the comments or let us know on live chat on the little chat box that's there. And we'll take those into consideration. And again, if you guys do want to support the channel and get help in your sobriety, go to talksober.com, click the big yellow button, sign up here. You'll get instant access. Come on in and have a little chat and, yeah, stay sober. Thanks for being here, guys. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.